Welcome to the Retrospect podcast, a show where three guys come together from different walks of life and discuss a topic from their generation's perspective. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Stoney.
Hello.
And X-Man.
Hey, everybody.
We have a smile on our face right now because we just spent the last pre-show 30 minutes having a great conversation.
Right.
I wish we would record those. I really do.
We will once we, get big time and can
monetize it.
Yeah,
people
monetize
can pay
it.
to hear the pre and after show or something.
Yeah,
Felt like some real therapy we had. It felt good.
It's
It
good.
didn't cost us $175 an hour either.
Yeah. Actually, I'll make the bill out. I'm kidding.
You should charge me for that tea.
Right,
It was
you're
really,
right.
really good.
Oh, man.
It smelled good in here.
Okay. But so this week, what is our topic? What is our question for this week?
So our question is this. The holidays are so awesome. And with COVID kind of relaxing, it's kind of nice. And it seems like the world's got a little bit of a more upbeat feel to it this year over last year. And everybody's kind of looking forward to, I went to my first staff party I've been to in 2 years. But not everybody is feeling that way. We have been in a global pandemic for 2 years. It has left a wake of devastation behind us. 5 million people on the planet are no longer here because of it. 750,000 of those right here in our country. So we could not go through the whole holiday season without asking the question, what happens when Christmas is messy?
Christmas has been messy longer than the pandemic.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of pressure
Say more.
in this time. There's a lot of pressure during this time.
Yeah.
Families are pulled apart. One of the things in one of our previous podcasts we talked about was, the village. Kids move as far away from their parents now as they can.
Yeah.
Instead of moving down the street from
Why
mom.
does your generation do that, Ian?
I don't know. I'm assuming that it's...
I think it started from yours.
The only thing I can say from my own personal experience is I felt like I needed my own independence. Like I had a loving family. I had a very a family that was always there and was and I always had home, and I felt like I had a lot of security, and I loved that. But to some degree, I felt like even if I moved out, I still felt in this circle of
Control.
kind of.
So you didn't move down the road. You moved to another country.
That's a big
you
move.
moved.
But it was also for myself to prove to myself, at least as a young man, I want to know, can I make it in this world without my family?
Oh, wow.
And then
wow,
it was
that's tough.
And
that's deep.
Right. And it was because my parents during the holiday season were going through a divorce, and it was hard because, again, you can imagine they were married for 24 years, I think, and I think I was 23. So it's my whole world and what I felt like was normal is no longer the case. So it's I questioned what love was. I questioned what my faith was at the time. And so I had gone through a whole lot. And then on top of that, feeling not feeling independent, really, not feeling that sense of I can do this on my own. And I felt and again, I was in this point where I was kind of a sheltered kid, so I never really had this I was always kind of an arm's length away is what I felt like. And so to have that, I had friends up in Canada, and there was a girl I was hot on the heels for, and I was and I'm kind of looking for, and I had a job opportunity set up there. So I was it's just asking me.
So before you get any there, I want to talk about the actual messiness of life.
Of course.
What I want to know is, because I'm also from a broken family. Now, my brothers and sisters were much younger than you were when the parents divorced.
Yeah.
So I was in vitro, I was inside.
Right.
So but they were all here. And so in their case, like they blamed themselves for the divorce a lot because they were young. And so they felt like maybe it was the way that they were behaving or something. It was causing stress on their relationship. Right. And so they were actually like finding ways to blame themselves. Did you ever have any feelings like that of like this could be somehow my fault?
Not really. I don't think, I think my parents did a pretty good job of like,
unpacking it.
Yeah. Well, it was always a fight between them. Like it was always a communication thing. It was always I want this, I'm not getting it, or I need this and I'm not getting it. It was what it felt like. And so for us, it was always, and again, my youngest sibling was 17 or 18.
Were they all still living at home?
I think, yes, like 2 or 3 of us. Yeah, 2 of us were, I think. And so like, for like a few months preceding all of that, like before their like actual like separation, like I was like kind of being a mediator almost, of like trying to be that, where I was like, I'm trying to bridge the gap between my parents, of like having this conversation of like, where can we meet halfway? And I'm like, and then like I started like stressing out about that and getting frustrated until like I started realizing like it's not my job to try and fix my parents' relationship. And that's when I kind of got cold and a little distant. But I think I still was kind of in the midst of all of it. And then while Christmas was going on and being around friends and being in my own apartment and trying to have this kind of festive experience to have my mom, and I don't blame my mom at all, but trying to vent to me and obviously get frustrated with the situation and then inevitably getting divorced during that time, it's like, it was hard for me because I was like, I'm trying to like experience Christmas, have a fun time with my new roommate, and I'm trying to be independent, but I feel like I'm still in the midst of all this messiness that's going on. And it's like, so I think that's what kind of that January I had all my stuff ready to go, and I was like, I just need to like experience life.
I kind of see the same thing, coming from with the Hottie Doctor situation. Right. She had a horrible childhood.
Oh no.
Christmas was never good. It was real. It just wasn't good. She didn't have good Christmases. And then she gets married and, she goes overboard for everybody else. And she says for years, she didn't even get a present to open up.
Yikes.
And then all of a sudden now she's got the divorce and the kids are poofing. She's got one son she doesn't even talk to because, she found out that he had dropped out of school or failed out of school.
Right.
And he didn't appreciate her finding that out because he couldn't take advantage of that situation.
Oh, wow.
One daughter's, doing her own thing and, treating her dad way better than she's treating her mom. And then Magnus is sitting there kind of playing both sides of the fence.
Right.
And so this is going to be a messy Christmas for us.
Oh, I believe
this is going to be a messy Christmas
because he's not even in his like teenage years, isn't he?
No.
Oh
no.
Yeah.
He's almost 12, and then I'm sitting here going, what can I do to make this better?
Yeah.
After multitude of years despising the holidays, and now I'm right smack dab in the middle of the reason I hate the holidays.
Right.
Because there's so much pressure. As a kid, you said, you're 23. It still should be an enjoyable time for you.
Oh,
it's
the
most wonderful time of the year.
Oh.
You can sing it better than I can. X-Man, hit that for me one time.
The most wonderful time of the year.
See, so, and it should be for that. We're raised Christmas and the holidays, this wonderful spirit, and people, that's why you see the homeless people on every corner now, because people are more generous. They're more giving. They're more this. But then look how they're driving right now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Look how people are acting right now.
Yeah.
This is horrible. And then, I see what the story you just told, and I'm looking at this kind of going the same thing from Hottie Doctor section.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's what's happening to her. This is going to be a messy Christmas.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not fun.
Nope. I had a few of those growing up. I lived with an alcoholic mother. She was devastated from the divorce and the loss of her child to leukemia.
Right.
She was well into her addiction. It wasn't that I didn't love the holidays. I loved the holidays. I was a kid. I mean, what kid doesn't want to get presents and Santa and all that sort of stuff? But, the problem is that the choices that she made because of the life that she chose to pursue, she was a mistress. And so Christmas was always blue. She was always pining for him. And he was always with his family and his wife always. Right. And so, there we were in an apartment, and it was blue. The mood was blue. She would come in. I remember her setting up at the bar of our apartment on the stool, drinking and crying. And and I wanted to be happy, and she was happy when she'd wake up in the mornings, but the longer that day wore on, and by the time I got to school, I never knew what I was going to get when I opened that front door.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so I remember some real messiness. And then the other thing was, just like having to pick her up off the floor and put her in her bed, that's not a kid's job.
No.
But that was my job. And so it wasn't fun. It was really, really messy. And then, this Christmas is hard because of COVID-19, taking my father and having to experience, for the first time, the holidays, having a great loss like that in your family, and really the last loss of a living parent is a tough one. And so, Christmas is messy, but I don't know, something that's helping me right now is just I can't imagine going through what I've been through with this whole COVID thing and him without any belief or faith or something like that, because that's really helped me kind of have some hope and get through it. But messiness at the holidays, it's hard.
Yeah.
No, the suicide rate goes through the roof.
Oh,
because of the suicide rate goes through the roof.
Well, they said since the COVID-19 pandemic began, suicide rate among kids, 51% increase in girls and 4% increase in boys. So both genders have increased, but particularly hard on girls.
Wow.
And so, that's a huge jump. 50%. 51% increase in girls. That's just a very devastating thing. And, sadly, because of the kind of work I do, I had a friend probably 7 or 8 years ago back in my hometown who they could not find, their friend could not find his friend. They were neighbors. They were next door neighbors.
Right.
And so everybody went out looking for him. Well, her son was best friends with the son that was missing. And he went in the woods behind their house. They had lived up in a subdivision, and they weren't a great sprawling forest or anything, but just some woods. And he found his best friend hanging in a tree.
Man.
And that's how they spent their holiday is
that's so traumatizing.
And then, and then in another instant at Christmas, in that same community, actually, there was a father who had backed out of his driveway and killed their toddler because didn't know that he was outside and backed over him. And so,
I can't even imagine.
Oh, that family. It'll forever be burned in my mind as the most grief I've filled space I've ever occupied because they were just devastated.
Yikes.
Just devastated. It was a terrible accident.
To go back to what I was saying a little bit, my mom and subsequently her mom, my grandmother, were always pretty festive. So through my childhood, Christmas was always a pretty big deal because my grandma would come around a whole lot, and my mom and my grandma would decorate, and it would always just be this really awesome experience. And it was like this picturesque kind of experience as I was growing up. Each Christmas was this wonderful time, and I always loved it, and I always appreciated it, which I think is why I love the holidays now as an adult, even through all the stuff I've been through. But there was a point in time where my grandmother had passed away, and it was I think it was in, I forgot when exactly it happened, but what I do know is that following Christmas was not the same for my mom, because my mom, her mom, my grandmother was her foundation and her rock.
Well, and your traditions die.
Yeah,
with people,
and that's what it felt like. Is the
can I offer one up right quick?
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, I lived in Florida many years ago,
right?
And I moved back to help take care of some family and stuff. And I had a group of friends there, and one of them, we called him Hollywood, or H for short,
right?
And my birthday's on June the 18th, and June the 17th he committed suicide. But every year before that, the week between Christmas and New Year's, he would send me an Opus X cigar.
Oh, wow.
And a bottle of something.
Right.
No matter where we were, because we both traveled a lot. We both went here, went there. But no matter where I was, he would send that to me. And New Year's Eve, for 30 minutes, we would sit on the phone and smoke the cigar.
Oh, wow.
And take a drink out of that bottle.
Yeah, nice.
And I don't have that anymore.
Damn.
And it's so tough to think that he would rather take his life than reach out to one of us, because there's a group of 4 of us, and reach out to one of us, and we'd have done anything in the world for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he would rather choose that route than just reach out and talk.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, he thinks that the world is easier without him. And I can't tell him it's much harder without you. Because this guy, if I could have chose my dad, I'd have chose him. Yeah. He's a little bit older. He was the older one of the group.
Yep.
And I'd have chose him.
Oh man, that hurts.
You know, he's the one who I played real good poker, but he's the one who took me to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
You know, he taught me a lot about life. He taught, just a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
but Messy Christmas lies to you. You know, it's a bitch of a companion, because when it's messy like that, it convinces you somehow that it's going to stay messy forever, and so or that your pain is going to be so great that you just don't have it in you to get through whatever it is that you have to get through to a better place. And so it's a messy Christmas is a tough companion to have, and I think it's so important for us to just pause, from a lot of our other content, and just acknowledge that not everybody feels like Merry Christmas, and not everybody feels like, Happy Hanukkah. Not everybody feels like all of these things. Some people are going through real stuff, and it can be pretty devastating stuff. And so we need to make some space for people who are in a much bluer mood, because really they're important.
Yeah. While you're speeding down the road, being ugly to people, cutting people off, going into the store, hitting them with your cart to get the G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip, you don't know whose life you're affecting.
Yeah, right.
There could be someone right next to you that if you just took the time, you could see they just needed a smile.
And your unkindness may actually add to their devastation.
Absolutely.
It may be the trigger. It may be the thing that pulls the trigger on their plan to not choose to live. And that's a real tough one. I think that another thing is that unfortunately, as part of everybody struggles differently in life and strives differently. And for so many of our brothers and sisters, there is drug addiction and alcoholism and things like that, and the time of the year with all of the parties and things like that, there's a lot of expectation for fun and that kind of stuff. And when people aren't feeling that way, they tend to drink more or do more drugs in order to enhance their moods and things like that, which leads to real
I'm glad you said
stuff.
That, because there's an old saying, and I've kind of expounded on it. There's a saying that the best drug do you know what the best drug for a human being is? Another human being.
There you go.
Yeah.
Do you know what the best poison for a human being is? Another human being.
Yeah.
We can either help or we can hurt. It's up to us.
Yeah.
So during these holidays when people are, I'm glad you said that, because the human being is the best drug or the best poison if you want to hurt somebody or help somebody.
Well, and having just some physical awareness of the space and people around you in order to kind of go, hey, if this person is having too much, it could very, very likely be that they don't want to be. They're having so much problems in their life that they just simply don't want to be. They want to mask all of that and feel differently about it, and sometimes that goes overboard. And so, but the other thing is it's easy to lose people in the bustle of Christmas.
Oh yeah.
So if you haven't heard from your friends in several days, this is a great time to just pick up your phone and call. Don't send a text. Don't message them. Don't pick up the phone and call them so that they hear your voice and they hear some warmth and they're grounded and that kind of thing, because, people, it's so easy in our world today to feel like you're completely alone, even though there's 6,000 people standing around you.
Right next to you.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I really feel sorry for any times that we've had in life where, we've gone through Christmas and it's not been good, because there's such a great side of it. But I want you to talk, Stoney, more about the expectation, because I think that's really important in this conversation.
Oh, wow.
Like, what are the things that are expected and what kind of pressure does that put on people?
Well, I mean, I remember, growing up, there was really 2 Christmases, well, 3 if you count your own family. My mom and dad were they did things differently. There was a 3 or 4 year period where we didn't celebrate Christmas. Oh, we celebrated Christmas, but they made us as kids wait till little Christmas to receive the presents. So you got to see all the kids in the neighborhood on Christmas Day playing with all their kids, and we couldn't do anything for another week or so, and then going to Grandma and Grandpa's, we had Granny and Papa was the city folk, and Grandma and Grandpa was the country folk.
Right.
And then they kind of met in the middle of the city and the country folk. And going to, Grandma and Grandpa's, the country folk, it was a big ordeal.
Right.
Because everybody got together. That's where everybody came. And just the pressure on my grandmother. And that was the year she had the stroke. When she started, now she's still with us. God only knows how. She's an amazing woman.
Right.
But she had a stroke on just that pressure, just that buildup.
So what is that pressure? Let's name it. What are the things that would cause someone pressure her in her seat? Like if she's the matriarch of the family.
Everything has to be perfect.
Yeah.
Nobody needs to say anything stupid. Everybody needs to get along. No fights.
Somebody will go watch the Fun Uncle. Yeah. Somebody go.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So there's just so much pressure.
And the house has to be clean.
And then you're worried about the one family member that doesn't show up, the one lost son, like for me, I was the lost grandson. I know she was worried about me.
Right.
Where was I? What was I doing? Was I okay? Why wasn't I home for the holidays?
I believe you told us before. You can't even answer that question.
No.
I believe it.
I can't.
That's crazy.
So, what are other expectations? What do you think's kind of built into Christmas?
I think I think a lot of the times expectation is a false sense of happiness. This level of you have this mask of pretend it's everything's okay, even when deep down it's not really. It's at least that's what I've experienced a lot of times. But
having the perfect turkey.
Oh, right.
Gifts.
Yeah.
My wife that's her love language. She likes to give gifts, and she's great at it. She goes and she finds these intentional things, and they're also meaningful and all of that. But when that's who you have to give a gift to, that is a lot of pressure. And so I'm just going to admit it. I hate shopping for her birthday, for her Christmas. And it's because, I'm afraid that mine is not going to live up to her expectation.
Can I just say, I second that to a whole new level. Mallory's love language is giving gifts, and she is the same way of finding these things that I'm I don't even know how you would think to get somebody that, but it's so smart.
Yeah.
And it's
you open the package and tears, you're well up in your eye, and you're like,
God,
and the angels,
And then I'm over here
see, my experience is a little bit different. So I dated this girl for a while there, and this is why I didn't go to stores, or I wouldn't date anybody during the holidays.
Right.
I around basically this woman around Halloween, she would start dating 5 men.
Right.
All at the same time.
Man.
So whoever got her the best Christmas presents, she tuned it down to 1 or 2, 3 guys maybe for Valentine's. Whoever got her the best Valentine's is who she would date until the next Halloween.
Oh, wow.
And then she'd cut everybody and she'd start all over again.
What?
And when I found
Skull
this
digger,
out,
baby.
When I found this out, I dropped that woman. And I says, oh my God. What the hell is wrong with you? I literally asked her that.
Yeah.
Just thinking about that makes me tired. I couldn't
think about
do that.
Yeah. Well, that's somebody who has a real skewed,
right.
self-worth kind of
right.
The holidays suck.
Yeah.
When you're living your life like that.
Yeah.
there's no joy.
Have you ever gone through a holiday just flat ass broke?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yes.
Talk about suck fast.
I have. I think the first Christmas that I was back home, I told my friends and family, I love you all dearly, but I'm going to be a bit of a Scrooge this Christmas, and because I was like recuperating from my financial struggles.
You find out who your real friends are, don't you?
And again, I think obviously my real friends and family obviously didn't really care, but I was like, I'm still trying to get on my feet financially, so like I'm gonna hoard all my money because I'm paying bills and stuff like that. And they were like, "That's okay."
That's the way it should be.
But
yeah, but that's a messy Christmas too, because that can make all kinds of feels, like
right.
It can really go south fast in that boat. But I'll tell you, one of the messiest Christmas that I had most recently was 4 Christmases ago.
Okay,
and I had just moved. A big move, a major move, an out-of-state move.
Okay.
I was excited because in my new home, I was going to be able to love on the new people in my life and new friends that I had just met and over the summer and just, all of these things. And then my jobs kind of centers around the holidays too.
Right.
And so I had a lot to do and busyness and things that I wanted. It was going to be my first Christmas,
Yeah.
And the week before Christmas, I clock a 104 degree temperature.
Oh, no.
And I am burning up in bed. And I had told my wife, look, I want you to be ready to take me to the hospital tomorrow. I said that to her about 9 o'clock in the morning. By 11 o'clock in the morning, I said, we're going to the hospital right now while I can still be conscious. Wow. And so we got in the car and I go to the hospital, and this is way before COVID and any of that. I go to the hospital and the people that are nursing me in the ER go out of the room and put on hazmat gear and come back in.
Oh, no.
So they think that I have some kind of airborne pathogen that with my sickness, they think. Yeah. And so they start running all these tests on me. And I mean, my fever is just spiking. It stays way up there. And I was miserable. So I laid up there for 4.5 hours in the ER like that on a cold table because they weren't going to let me out of that room because they were afraid. Mm-hmm. The test came back. I did not have the airborne thing. So they all took their mask off, which immediately relaxed me.
You had gas, didn't you?
No, dude.
I'm telling you, like I
had double pneumonia. Oh, I had double pneumonia. I was sick and I was almost dead. Wow. I mean, I was bad.
So it's nice to be special sometimes, but like whenever you're in that moment where you're like, I don't want to be that level of special where everyone has to come in with hazmat suits. Like, I don't need this kind of treatment right now.
Well, they put me in a private room and I don't even remember that. I can't even tell you what happened or how I got there.
Dipping in and out of consciousness.
I woke up in a private room and the last thing I wanted to see was people, because you know how they are. They come in every 5 minutes and draw blood and do this and that. So anyway, I'll never forget one of my friends came and visited me at 6 o'clock in the morning and peeked their head in the door, and he took one look at me and went, man, you look like shit.
Love you too, pal.
That may be the first time I smiled after the whole thing started.
Right.
But let me tell you, my wife and kids, it was, now it's Christmas Eve, and my wife and kids come up, and I'm still in the hospital, and they bring me this little tree with 6 branches on it. One that comes in one of those little pots with the gold foil. And it has one ornament and a sad, it looked like the most sad looking
Charlie Brown Christmas tree.
And they stuck it in the window and everything. And honestly, I appreciated their effort, but I just wanted them to leave.
Right.
I just wanted them to go away.
Right.
And it's not that I didn't love them. I did.
Yeah.
But it was more pressure to see them.
Right.
And to feel like I needed to be okay for the kids.
Right.
And
it's also the holiday season, and you're like, man, I just feel I can imagine I don't want to say guilt, but for me it would be I can't be there for Christmas now.
Right.
It's like,
well, oh yeah. I mean, I was devastated.
Right.
You know, I'm sitting there going, I'm missing Christmas, and I did. I missed Christmas. I didn't get out of the hospital until after Christmas. I stayed in there for a week, and I was totally sick. But here's the deal, and this is my point in telling that story. It is, there is so much health things that can happen, and people who are experiencing health things during the holidays, and they're just not fun. It sucks all of. So when you said expectation, that's immediately what I thought was, I kind of get that because I experienced that. The expectation was, I know that you're spending your holiday in the hospital, and we want to be here with you. And I'm just sitting there like, get out.
That was one of my fears with the stroke.
Man.
Yeah.
That I was going to be laid up for the holidays because,
wasn't sure.
Wasn't sure.
Right. Yeah. So it's just one of those things that
they said they did not expect my recovery like this.
I mean, that's great though.
Well, no, it is great. I mean, and you're very fortunate, but I just want to, for all of you out there who are sick and at this time of year, or you're not feeling good or feeling yourself or blue or that, like, I mean, wow. I mean, I want you to know that it gets better and all that, but I see you. I know what you've gone through, and it stinks. It really does. It's not like anybody wants to feel bad.
No,
right.
Well, there's probably a couple people that do, but that's few and far between.
Yeah. Right. For me, in these past few years, I've been going back to like tradition a little bit and trying to start my own traditions because of the fact that like my mom, ever since then, like with her mom passing away and with the divorce and with the kids leaving the house, because we all kind of left the house around the same time, the holidays have been different for my mom. And I've noticed that she hasn't been the same around the holidays a lot. And I have, ever since I've come back from Canada, and I've realized that I'm trying to make a conscious effort to like make the holidays something that she enjoys again. Specifically, like I also want to enjoy it too, but it's like, but I want her to feel that Christmas spirit again, to feel loved in that space. And so like this feels like the first Christmas that like we're hitting a stride with that, and I'm really excited about it. And so to kind of talk about what you're saying as well, is like it does kind of get better, but I think it also
sounds like you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself to make that happen.
I wouldn't even say pressure. I mean, because it's like maybe I am, but I think it's in the best way.
It's more
like,
out of service to her,
right? And it's also for my girlfriend now. It's like this is like our first like real Christmas together with the family. My brothers are both off of work and available, and I am more than happy to facilitate having them all in my home and have this really awesome Christmas experience, because that's what I want, and I don't think it's like a really a heavy thing for me, like pressure wise, where I'm like having a certain expectation. Yeah. But it's just this like, I want that sense of family again.
So what do you do? And if you're anxious and you're depressed and you're that, like, what can you do? What are some practical ways that people can, kind of rebound out of that messiness? Because, I know for me, like one of the best things that can happen when I'm feeling like blue or I'm feeling kind of sad is to just get out, get outside and get some sunshine and some fresh air. So we spent an entire Thanksgiving because my family had decided back home that they weren't going to get together. I just was like, we're going to the beach then. Yeah. We have to go somewhere where there's just some scenery, a change of scenery. And
one year I needed a change of scenery. I was living in Aspen, Colorado. I wanted to come
because that wasn't pretty enough scenery.
I was homesick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was homesick.
Yeah.
I had a great relationship with my grandmother. The rest of the family kind of askew, but I wanted to come home and be around family and friends and stuff like that. So it was -11 in Aspen. I was, long sleeve shirt. I love the weather, but you pack appropriately.
Right.
And I flew home on Christmas Eve.
Wow.
Christmas Eve. 85 degrees in our city.
Nice.
85 degrees in our city. I go from -11 to 85 degrees in a couple hours.
I'm not surprised.
And I did not bring the right clothes.
Ooh. That's when you hope the Christmas presents are clothes.
Yes.
But to answer your question, though, for me, over the past few years, for me, it's it's like finding something that makes you happy, finding those experiences or those people or those places that make you happy, in the holidays or not, obviously, like there's regular, like around the year, but specifically for me, in my use case, was finding that of what made me happy, and then also like putting in the work towards like establishing new traditions, whether that's doing something on your own or with your significant other or your friends. Like that's a lot of times, like if you want it done, you got to do it yourself. A lot of times, like if you're wanting to make some new thing, new tradition, if you want to start something new towards like making the holidays something you can look forward to, like it starts now. Like you got to start thinking of some things that you think would be fun or something that can like take your mind off of what is weighing on you, or, making those kind of new connections or whatever. And that's what I started to do. And now, like I said, I feel like it's taken 2-3 years, but like I feel like I'm getting some traction with that, where like I'm looking forward to it now. It's not something like the past 3 or 4 years before, like I've been working on it, where it's like I'm just nervous because it's like I'm scared what the family's gonna say. I'm scared, I have to go do 2 separate Christmases now, or like it's all the stuff I used to like.
That's a huge one,
and
right
so
there.
For me, it's
huge.
Like all those little things I used to like get so worked up about and get so frustrated with, like that still may be happening around me, but I have things that also are making me happy in this season that are kind of making me move through some of that. That I think, like I said, everyone's different, but that's what has helped me a lot personally. So
I have a question.
Yep.
Okay. How much is the commercialization of the holidays adding to that stress in that?
Well, for sure a lot. I mean,
Christmas starts now day before Halloween.
Right.
If not after 4th of July.
That's the next holiday that it's going to move to. Before it was, you had Thanksgiving and then you kind of started worrying about Christmas.
Right.
Now everything, they starting to put Christmas crap up, right the day before Halloween.
Yep.
Yeah.
Does that add to it? With all the commercials, like he went to Jared,
right.
he if you don't get this, you're not,
I think it can, for sure.
I think it just makes it more present. It just kind of feels like constantly in your face. It's like it's already bad enough to like you may not like the holidays, but the fact that at every corner it's just like right there.
Well, and it also puts the burden of debt on you.
Wow.
And so let's not forget, nothing sucks worse than spending money that you don't have, and that's why our world is full of credit cards and that kind of thing. And I'll tell you what, that was one of we talked about on another podcast about milestone times in the year. This year, I got to write the very last 2 payments to pay my credit cards completely off.
Wow.
And
I
so
love that feeling.
I'm debt free. And so let me tell you, it puts your whole holiday into a different perspective. And it feels so good. So this year, like my wife and I, we buckled down and paid off $36,000.
Holy cow.
And so, and it was because we didn't do anything, go anywhere. When it wasn't, nothing was extravagant.
That's the thing too. Like I said, it's just like working towards that kind of thing. It's like it took you making a decision then to then impact what's going on.
Well, that stuff
now.
racked up in school. At one point, we didn't have insurance, and so when we had our babies, we didn't have any insurance.
Oh, no.
Wow.
So we had to pay the hospital, and so the only way to do that was to make cash agreement with them and pay it all up front.
Right.
And so, so they're just things, they happen. And so it's very easy to get in that situation, but getting out of that as fast as you can is really, really important. And that's another thing that you can do to kind of improve your mood. But, if you're sick at Christmas, some of the ways that you might have to do that is to listen to some music and really just let some rest, make sure you're getting enough rest and that you allow that and you don't feel guilty about it, but take it because it's what your body needs. And so just do it without all of the guilt,
And sometimes what I have been working on right now, like it just in my like daily and weekly life right now.
Yeah.
Like on a less bigger picture,
Yeah.
is really take the time for right now to happen. Again, people have said that in many different ways. Obviously, like it's always about the present and all that kind of stuff. But I have recently been like taking opportunities where if you have downtime, if you're listening to music, if you're having these like different experiences, is being mindful about like the here and the now. It's like grounding yourself in like, you may have problems in the future, you may have issues in the past or whatever, but is looking at right now at what you have and being thankful for it, or just experiencing the life that you have, if you are healthy or not, or however you may look at it, and just being in that moment of like having this few minutes where you can have some coffee, where you can have just a drink of water in a park or whatever. It's like have that moment where you can just stop and think like everything's okay right now.
Yeah.
It may not be later, but right now.
You know what always makes me feel good right now? My dog.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that is an immediate gratification because he's so soft. Like, I love my pet. And so, you know, if you're feeling lonely, that is a really, really great thing to have. Go cat set or pet set or dog set, you know, like, because it's really nice. Or go to the zoo, like animals and nature stuff. That's always really, really uplifting.
The embodiment of just in the moment.
Well, and the awe, remembering that our world is awesome.
Yeah.
So if you can go and kind of connect with the created world, that it's kind of a really uplifting thing. But the main thing is just remembering that you never really are alone. Like you do not, and if you are, it's your choice. You don't have to be.
Yeah.
And so for anybody who's feeling lonely, or you're feeling stuck in that place where you just wish that you had someone to talk to, freaking treat yourself to some counseling. Like, honestly, there's no shame in that game. Like, I had a friend who told me about her marriage. I was like, what's the secret to your marriage? Because they had been married 50 years. And she said, every 5 years, we take $500 and we apply it to therapy, to marriage counseling.
Nice.
And she's like, we just give each other that gift every 5 years, whether we think we need it or not. We just do it. And so, I mean, and it's so easy now in the modern world with, with the internet and being able to Zoom and things like that. You can pay relatively little. And a lot of times your employer has employee assistance programs and things like that may make it free.
Yeah. And there's actually some really good, I can't say brand names on the show right now, but there's like some really good, like, services that are out there that are like up and coming, that handle that kind of stuff, that are that kind of therapy online or over the phone, that is, always there.
So Stoney, say somebody's at the rock bottom. You know, you always say rock bottom has a basement.
Right.
So tell me, like, if someone is just in their basement, what can they do?
Well, you're kind of hitting on it right there. You know, when you said, go get some therapy. How about just ask somebody for some help?
Yeah.
You know, if things are too tough, just reach out and talk to somebody.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, there's a lot of stuff out there. Friends can help you. Family members are out there. You can call, and if you're feeling low enough, the hotline, the suicide hotline. If you feel like you want to hurt yourself or do some danger to yourself, reach out to the suicide hotline.
Yeah. So if somebody calls the suicide hotline, Stoney, what could they expect? Like, could they expect judgment or?
Oh, absolutely not. No, these people are trained. They're here to help you. They care about people. They're volunteers. They do it on, with purpose. They want to help people that are feeling low. Because
you're not the only one. That's the other thing to remember is when you're going through something like that, it's not like you're the first person that ever experienced this. This is not, that's why there's no shame in it. I mean, this is a reality in our brokenness. And so, you just have to kind of be able to remember that, there's a wealth of resources around you, and there's no shame in picking up a phone. So
absolutely not. And just in case anybody needs it at this time, there is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, it's 800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-8255. And there's people to help.
Oh, bro, that's wisdom.
Right.
That is really, really wisdom.
Man. Yeah, but like I like I've said before as well, I feel like there's always a grass is always greener on the other side sort of thing.
Do you know why?
Like, why is that?
Do you know why the grass is greener on the other side?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's an optical illusion. It's true.
Really?
Yeah, if you're standing over the grass, you can see the brown. But if you're looking at it over there, all you see is the grass, the green tips of the grass.
There you go.
Yeah, it's an illusion.
That is interesting.
Yeah, so people who say, "Oh, the grass is always greener over there," no, it's not.
Well, you know.
Yeah, the grass is greener where you're standing. You just got to make the best of it. Do what you can. Push through it, because the grass is not greener over there.
All right, but what I'm saying is, like, I feel like you're right, but at the same time, I do feel like if you do put in the work and you do get through the shit that's right now, like it can get better. Like, life may not be great. It may suck more times than not, but that doesn't mean that we can't, I guess, work towards trying to make it a little more enjoyable, I think.
Yeah, something that I saw that I thought was very honoring and very important in my own experience is at my sister's wedding. We had some deceased grandparents and stuff that weren't there, right. and she roped off those chairs and placed flowers in each of them.
Wow. Awesome.
And also lit candles on an altar at her wedding as a way to memorialize them and to say, you are here with us. You are to make that a visual representation in your space. And so, listen, if you're like me and you've lost someone, light a candle and let them be there with you. Let them let their light to be with you. And so those people are always imprinted on you. And so if that candle evokes what they imprinted on you, you are with them. And so allow yourself to have a companionship with those who you've lost. And I'm really aware of that this year, to make sure that, that I don't feel like, luckily, I'm a person of faith, so I do believe in the afterlife. We have episodes about the afterlife, right. And so I do believe in that. And if you have questions about that, I would suggest you go listen to that episode, because it'll tell you maybe some things that you haven't thought about.
Right.
Put something in your physical space that just reminds you of the good times and good things, and remember that those memories and those people are still part of who you are.
Yeah,
and there's people out there that will help you.
Yeah.
I remember when this whole, new parenthood thing popped up on me. One day you were walking by me and you just kind of stopped and you said, "Hey, what are you going through?" And now it's turned into something. We even turned it into a podcast about parenthood and trying to help people and helping each other out, because we've got that same experience.
Yep.
There's people out there that will talk to you.
Yeah.
Reach out and talk to somebody.
Right. You'd be surprised.
Yeah,
you'd be surprised. And that's the thing is, I've noticed in my own life, having friends that I can sit down and talk with and have those real conversations with. I'm not afraid to get into some real conversation with people. Sometimes I think it kind of scares off some people, but more often than not, I have people that enjoy talking below just the surface. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so you'd be surprised the amount of shit that people have gone through around you, and a lot of times they don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And they have gone through very similar situations. And,
yes.
And again, more often than not, you can talk to somebody, a friend of yours, especially someone that you trust, and you can, a lot of times, just vent. And you don't have to say anything. A lot of times you don't have to, all that kind of stuff. And then I have noticed in my own personal life that people are like, you know what? Me too. Yeah, I've been there.
Exactly.
Well, that was when we looked at each other and had those conversations. We're like, oh, I'm not alone.
Right.
We've gone through the same thing here.
Right. Well, just don't remember, it's not going to suck forever. It may suck now, but it's not going to stay that way.
And there's people that will talk to you.
They will. Yeah. And here's my other thing. If you're flat ass broke this year and you can't afford it, cut yourself some slack.
Yeah.
And cut yourself off the line for presents and all that stuff.
Right.
Do not go into further debt.
Right.
Do not make your situation worse. And listen, just sit down and let your gift to yourself this year be a plan to eliminate that burden in your life, because that's something that will weigh on you.
Right.
And so there are so many resources of how you can get out of debt. There are like Dave Ramsey and all these different places for financial peace and all of that sort of stuff offered all the time. Yeah. And there are a lot of people who offer scholarships to pay you out of it. And even like I had a group that did a Dave Ramsey course, and the conference that they were in matched the cost of they ate the cost of the course, and then started $300 towards an emergency fund for those people. And so just know that there are so many resources out there, because I can tell you, like when I was in that situation, it was so my car blew up this past year, and I was determined, I am not going into debt. I am not going to make my situation worse. I'm not getting into this. And so in order to stay true to our goal to pay off that debt, I drove a hoopty mobile that was a friend's car, and I had a neighbor in my neighborhood videotape me because they thought I was out of my neighborhood. They thought I wasn't supposed to be in there.
Really?
Right. But that car did not look like the other cars in the neighborhood. And I sucked it up and I didn't give a care. I was like, it's going to get me to work and back, and that's going to do. Right. And so do the thing that you need to do in order to get out of debt, even if it costs you your pride.
Right.
And just know that it feels great on the other side when you can kind of go into Christmas and go, I'm debt free. That's cool.
That's kind of true. Yeah. I heard an old proverb one time. I forgot where I heard it or who I heard it from, but it is, if you want a tree right now, there's 2 good times to plant it. The first was like 20 years ago. Yeah. And the other one is right now. Yeah. If you need a tree, that's the best way to do it. And again, it works on a lot of applications of that. If you want something like, the best time to do it was probably, a handful of years ago. But the second best time to do it is right now, because it's not going to happen. Yeah. It's not going to magically appear. Right. So put the work in now. But the best thing you can do in a messy situation is just the next right thing. Right. Just do the thing that's going to help you.
Right. Well, I think I'm, after hearing y'all talk and stuff, I think I'm going to remove the burden and pressure of Christmas presents this year. Good. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to give my opinion. So suck it up, buttercups. Next year's going to suck for y'all.
Woo! Listeners, you hear that? We're going to go into 2022 with a bang on this show.
I'm going to have a stocking full of opinions next Christmas.
That's right.
Can't wait to hear them.
Man. And also, I hope that this podcast...
Look at his face.
Only Stoney.
That's awesome.
Only Stoney.
That's awesome. I love this.
I hope that this podcast also can be a little bit of that light for people out there as well. I'm not saying we're going to go out there and cure depression, but at the same time, I hope that we can be this little bit of happiness in your week at the start of the week, where you can tune into the podcast, have a fun time with us, and listen to this conversation and be a part of this team here. Because I think this has been beneficial for me, and I think it has been for you too as well. And I just hope that other people can kind of have that same sort of happiness that I think we're all experiencing here.
If you can't, then be offended and screw off.
Jeez. But yes, if you're looking for other ways to find us, you can find us on Linktree/Retrospect Pod, or you can type in /Retrospect Pod on all of the social media platforms. You can also go to all the major podcasting platforms and find us that way, Retrospect. But until next week, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Peace.